Hello everyone and welcome to CCT Season 3 Europe Series 8. We're the closed qualifiers now, day 2 of these closed qualifiers here. We've got some pretty tense moments here this morning as our first 2 series of the day are sadly going to be elimination games. One of these 2 teams, or 2 of these 4 teams, are going to have to be sent home packing. Here's your schedule: NIP Impact versus One Win, Y5 versus Troglodytes, Unity versus Leo, before we finish the day off with Fireflux versus Eternal Fire. But like I said, first 2 series of the day, they are elimination. The final 2, obviously, will be the progression. So, worrying signs for certain teams, some pretty positive signs for others, but already been informed, NIP Impact and One Win are all in the server and raring and ready to go. So we'll take a bit of a deep dive into that game now and have a look at the rosters in terms of what we can expect from both sides. Starting off with NIP Impact, been a fair share of time since I've actually been able to get to watch these guys. It's been a little while, to be fair. When I did watch them, I mean, Kiara was sort of, by and large, the top performing player of that game. Like I said, it's been a fair amount of time, maybe a couple of months or so since I watched them in the last closed qualifier. They had a decent result. Things weren't quite where they wanted it to be, obviously. They did end up getting knocked out. I think they got 1 win in the group before ended up getting dropped out there. They've got to do one better here. It is elimination. Saw them play their first game a little bit earlier. Weren't able to take the victory there, but now against One Win, I mean, this is where they do have a chance. One Win, on the flip side of things, form hasn't been great for them. So I do think NIP Impact have an opportunity here. We haven't seen a huge amount of games from them in the last few months. It has just been these sort of closed qualifiers we've got to see a little bit from. do get the occasional win, but it's been struggling to actually get out these qualifiers. And that's, like I said, that's I think what we've got to be able to see these guys be able to do today. Otherwise, I do think it's just going to be another disappointing event for them and another underwhelming series. Obviously, alongside Kiara, Naomi, when I watched as well, both Kiara and Naomi were the sort of two players who felt like they were able to put up some decent numbers and consistent numbers. The rest of the team a little bit on and off at moments, but it does feel like the Dutch duo is something that we might need to see this team rely on once again if there is going to be a possibility to best one win here on this occasion. On the flip side of things, for one win though, this been a team that's form hasn't actually been nearly as good as I felt like it should be. When you look at the name value on the server, you've got Hobbit, you've got Inters. I mean, these two have been there at the top. They have sort of won it all, really. And yet it feels like this name value hasn't been enough to carry one win nearly as far as it probably should. You've got Latic, who we got to watch for a fair share of time, actually, here in the CCT. And all the way sort of from Navi Jr., from VP Prodigy, during his spell at Aurora as well. But it's been almost about a year now. In fact, I think a bit over a year since he's been on one win. And we haven't necessarily got to see the best out of him. The last few months, it's still good form, just not as good as we know it can be. And I feel like when you do have the name value of Inters and Hobbit on your roster, and you've got three younger guys that are coming through to develop, I'm expecting a bit more than where they are right now. 100 plus in the VRS rankings. I understand it's been recent times since you've added it into to the side. Ozic was sort of the roster move beforehand, and that was almost a year ago. So it doesn't feel like you can't really use the excuse of this team still sort of newly formed or early to develop, because four of the team have been with one another for about a year now, and Inters doesn't feel like he'll be the most difficult player to be able to introduce into this side. So and I'm hoping we can see some change up soon, but I think the fact that we're already seeing one win in the elimination spot here, where they did lose to Leo in the 2-1 fashion, I feel like already that's a bit of a disappointing showing here in Group A. But look, we've got time to potentially see one win turn things around. We've got time to see if they can rectify some of these mistakes, but it is going to come down to these vetoes. And as you do see here, Train's been the instant pick of one win. I don't mind this. They've been a team that's quite sort of early adopted it into their pool. NIB Impact taking Inferno. Similar to them, it is one of their most played maps in the last few months. Results haven't been spectacular, but their most recent game, they have got a victory. Had some closer losses in the last couple of months. But it sort of is a bit up and down in terms of what form you do get for them. Sometimes you get some really close games. Sometimes it can be a bit of a blowout. NIP Impact today, it's got to be certainly one of those closer games at the very least. And we do have Overpass as that third and final. But enough faffing around. More getting into the server, as here in Group A, we do have this elimination match underway now. NIP Impact versus one win. Be on that CT side. He certainly should give them the early advantage, being on the defensive, being on the favourite side of this map, but it's an aggressive play from one win out towards A, taking every gunfight that comes to them. Already 3 kills found. Yara just forced behind this camera smoke, having to wait it out. Aim towards Pop. That's been spotted out. 2 players holding now, but it's not quite connecting for either side. But with the bomb down, a 5 versus 1. One win certainly going to be claiming things here on this pistol. Aim eventually has been found. Clean sweep there from one win on the pistol. And train for one win. Like I said, it has been a map that they've looked to bring into their pool pretty heavily. It certainly gives them a lot of leeway in terms of picking things into certain series. Feels like a lot of teams still don't majorly want to look to play Train Overpass all too much just yet. But yeah, you would hope one win would have been able to. I mean, one win's result is probably, apart from the Leo game, you're probably reasonably happy with how things went on train because they win it more often than not. When they do end up losing it, it's normally some really close defeats, like 13-11s. The game against Leo felt like a bit of a just, I don't know, maybe a one-off, maybe a bad day at the office, but they ended up losing train 13-3 there. And that was a really underwhelming one, considering this is a team that have looked to bring this map in quite heavily, and sort of just getting blown out like that certainly is not what you want to see. CT's here, though, going for this force bite. It is just upgraded pistols, not a huge amount of utility remaining. Aim just jiggling towards B, smoke being dropped. 5-7 playing behind this. Donna's taking a bit of early damage, but we'll still find the opening kill. Ozik falls, and now could be this fast flank through A main, while Latic looks to take the space from Z. Kiara peeks into the angle, will find Inters before getting traded out. Dana found as well, 3-on-3 hit. We're towards Pop. We'll find one and we'll give this man advantage over to 1win. With the smoke blocking off Aim and Naomi, the 257s can cause a lot of chaos in positions like this, and they will do so. Trying to find Cronus. Dink comes over. I think we'll finish off Aim, the damage that his teammate did. And just 7 HP, AK in hand. Aim wants to keep hold of this weapon. I think knows exactly where she is and can't find 1win. We'll be victorious here on this force bite, or against the force bite, but it does get a little bit closer than 1win certainly want. Started off with this kill here on Toxic. It just gives a lot of space over to the CT side, and we're able to always keep that round reasonably competitive. 3v3, into 2v2. The 1win, just the superior weapons. Being a real difference maker there. Couple of upgraded pistols. Again here for NIP. It shouldn't be all too detrimental to 1win. They are going to want to win a round, but they can actually win it pretty cleanly. Last one came closer than they would have liked, so Ash for the T's hasn't really been able to be built up all too much. So this could be the chance for 1win to do so. The Eagle doesn't quite connect on the Inter. She goes back for a second peek. Pistons do find a couple of kills here. Oh, name 1 versus 2. There is a chance with the Eagle not quite finding the shots needed. 1win will get that 3-0 start, but again, it's another round that gets a bit close for comfort. I mean, there was even less of an investment there than there was in the last. And the fact that NIP could go on to find just a few kills here or there. And 1win do need to be careful of, because even now, if we can see NIP win this first full buy, this is where you've got a chance for 1win to instantly be reset, forced into a really uncomfortable spot. Aggression here to revive the flashbang's good, but even though the flashbang's good, Ozik and Lassic will still find Ilga and Kiara both fall, and Naomi's. I think the call's actually spot on. The aggression, the flashbang looked good enough, but just that sort of fraction of a second that the kill needed to come through, it didn't. Allowed 1win to find the success, and finally we do see more dominant rounds. But interestingly enough, it wasn't up against the pistol, it's being up against the weapons. Mizana, all that remain, both reside towards this A-bomb site. You're peeking into Ivy. Latic finds his third of the round. Aim at the back of the bomb site. Suffers the same fate as the rest of her teammates. As Latic, 9-0 hit. I mean, you can see it looked like Otic was fully blinded, but I think Latic was just close enough to the right wall that the flash didn't quite catch him. And it allowed him to sort of be the difference maker there while his team went to regain vision. Does tag down heavily with nades here, gets overwhelmed. Good neutral combo from the CT, taking his face towards A. Someone does get a kill back. And the Cronus as well keeps things advantaged. Back up now from aim towards Z. I mean, these pistols have caused a lot of issues for one win. Just playing these sort of sneaky angles. And position like overlooked in there. I'll take overlooking. The held position it will allow Azana to find it the first of the round, but Latic on the AWP. Again, will ensure that one win don't falter to the pistols, but it's another round where, I mean, one win are victorious, but it gets far closer than it feels like it ever should do. Guns back in play for the CTs. Still over towards A. Donner on the AWP could get caught off by this fast playthrough. Ivy. Ossigan enters both through the smoke. No fear. Comes the flash here for Vilga. He's able to catch off one. Will drop the smoke, but won't get swung upon. Kiara's there to help. He finds his first of the round. This is an orb shot and allows Kiara to get the kill. Hobbit in a 1 versus 2. Takes the fight into Kiara. Comes out on top. Is he going to be ready for aim? No. NIP first round found. Comes down to the 1v1. They're good trading there on the bomb site. Particularly after Vilga flashed in. Finds the first kill. And you can see Ozik looks like he wants to swing. Looks like he wants to get the trade. But Kiara on the bomb site punishes as soon as the swing comes through, and it's a good bait and switch setup. So we've seen some weaknesses with the one-win economy. Sadly, NIP couldn't quite find a round win early enough that they could have broken one win after just one. But they've still got a chance to break the money of the T side now if they're able to win this one. Latic has kicked things off with an opening kill with the AWP. This one's going to go the way of the CTs. It's going to need to be done disadvantaged. They'll got a lot of space taken here towards A main. Does feel like one minute are going to go for this pivot towards A here. This could get a bit uncomfortable as Vilga still has this control towards A. The only player who can really stop her, I was going to say, is Latic, and he's 17 points of health with the AWP, but Osig will find Zona's AWP. Eventually does get the trade, but it's a 2-man advantage now for one win. Ronus aggressive stance finds aim, and Latic's AWP posted up. Much better round there from one win. Much cleaner round from one win as well. Unfortunately for the CDs, it's the Ts that have been able to do the resetting. No weapons in play here on the defensive side, and it is just going to need to be upgraded pistols again. Already, this is a super good half for one win. You'd be happy with 6 rounds. But certainly there's a lot of opportunities to find more. And like I said, we've seen a disappointing game on train from one win against Leo. Interestingly, there was actually the CT side that one win really struggled with. Only starting on the CT side and only able to find 3 rounds. I think probably for 1 win. Well, those 6 rounds you're happy with. I doubt they're going to take their foot off the gas for a second, knowing that, look, it was our CT side that let us down last time, and let's not let that be the case. Opening kill here from Lattig again. He's thriving in this game, 15-1. Still sent over Ingest B, searching for something towards A, but a couple of players heard in A main. It doesn't think it's wise to re-peek into that one. Sadly trapped as the players from Pop emerge. And left with no choice, but the Pistols do find a couple of kills. 8 HP on Cronus now. Aim all that remains. 1 kill found. Can't find Lattig though, who gets a quad. Come on, Lattig's continuing to have this impact. As it's been a fair amount of time, in the pre-game, it's been a fair amount of time since I've got to watch NIP Impact. It's been a fair amount of time since I've actually got to watch 1 win as well. Probably a good few months, at the very least, but it's been interesting to see someone like Osik develop. Relative unknown name to me. He got sort of brought onto the main roster. Spent a bit of time on the 1 win academy. We've seen some decent results in the last few months. 1-for-1 trade early here. Cronus does get the opening kill, but on it. Instantly there with a trade. One back out towards A, and 1 win haven't really looked towards the B side of things at all in this map. Being all plays through A. Osik finds 1, Naomi's so exposed here. Eventually will get found, and it's all on A. Spotted out by Lattig. We'll back away, give ourselves a bit more cover to play around, but Inter's not given any time to settle. Takes the fight onto A as Util gets thrown. And 1 win with A. It's just this beacon pop there that really throws a spanner into the works. You can see the CT's just not expecting a rogue swing out. Obviously, it's full loss bonus. Can see a decent enough half-fly out from the CT side. Mate, blinded there. Lattig's flash is good enough for Cronus to find a double. And he gets a kill with the P250. And that's all NIP Impact could really speak about on this occasion. A flanking towards Pop has been heard. And it is all on Aim now. Vilga gets found. Lattig's Orb connects. 19-1 on Lattig. What a game he's been having. First tactical balls coming in for NIP. Only a couple of rounds remaining of the half. And already 1 win are probably setting their sights forward towards a map like Inferno. 9 rounds on the T side is a really scary prospect for any team to face off against. And the fact that there's still 2 more rounds to play, the fact that 1 win aren't really showing many signs of slowing down. I mean, you can see most of these rounds they're just brute forcing their way towards A. Certainly are throwing in a bit of variation in terms of how they take it, but haven't really looked towards the B side of things whatsoever this game. I don't even think we've had a single player look out of it. A main space taken now from NIP. Called a tactical pause for this. You can see one with a little bit more wary of his position. Blast does come in. Missed shot from Latic, but Inters is by his side to make sure Vilga doesn't go away unpunished. Naomi spotted. You're not wanting to give up the gunfight though, so we'll just drop the smoke grenade instead. These are being forced back here. You can see how paranoid OneWin are to actually take this space towards A main. Even though Kiara's not actually playing in it after Vilga got taken down. We're not actually seeing them all too comfortable to take this space, but it doesn't matter. Players are getting picked apart. Cronus will find one. Lots of damage has been dealt to Cronus and Inters. Ozic will full aim, not clearing out pop. Cronus finds. And a 4 versus 2 as Latic punches in the digits to the bomb. Cronus could find his 3rd kill in this position. On a quick flick shot, but not hitting the mark. And Naomi took the early gunfight. Ozic did come out on top. But at the cost of so much health, so I can't even give this round a go. It is going to be double digits for OneWin as we head into the final round of this first half. Latic creeping ever closer, and Latic can find Naomi. That is 20 confirmed for Latic now. Almost averaging 2 kills a round. I mean, to be fair, some of the earlier rounds been a little more one-sided as of late, but some of the early rounds there from OneWin, we saw they got a little bit dicey against the pistols. It sort of came down to 2v2s, things like that. And Latic on those occasions was the player to step up and sort of stop OneWin from losing those rounds. And I think if a couple of them went the way of NIP, in fact, I think we could have seen, I mean, quite a different scoreline. And for one thing, I certainly don't think we would have seen a 10-1 lead for OneWin, because money was always pretty poor. Nice find here on Cronus. You got a low-speed Hobbit as well. Now I've also fallen towards Ivy. This is a great chance. Look at the aggression through pops. 2 players pushing. It's all on Inters and Latic. 2 versus 5. Big change up here from NIP. You wouldn't have minded them throwing something like that out a little sooner, but I suppose we didn't see a huge amount of aggression from OneWin towards B. "45 seconds for these 2 Ts to play with." Latic swapping over to an AK. Aim instantly domes at the free fire from Latic. Finds a second. Look how sharp Latic's looking. Bomb can get planted. Latic has been dinked down. Well, at least for NIP, you might have lost 2 players, but at least you get some damage off. Latic finds his 3rd. Surely not anything else. Does eventually get found, but he has put Inters in a 1 versus 2. Naomi holding the smoke. 2 wise for Inters there. And that could have almost been certainly one of the best clutches we've seen in a little while here in the closed qualifiers from Latic and Inters. But Inters not quite able to have the same success Latic is. And 2 rounds found from NIP on this CT side. I mean, like I said, we've had a fair few closer rounds, but the disappointing thing is the most important stat line at the end of the day is what's the score. And right now, OneWin have led this first half by an 8-round lead and moving over to the more dominant side of this map. Sure, against Leo, they did struggle on the CT side. Well, they only managed to find 3 rounds. That was them only managing to find 3 rounds. They only need 3 rounds. and they do walk away with victory here. I mean, one thing I wouldn't mind, at the very least, I sort of do say in these games that are a little bit more one-sided. Hopefully for NIP Impact, this can be a map that they can sort of get their players warmed up into the server on, sort of mount a little bit of a streak, certainly helped out by the pistol round. Even if you're not going to be able to make this comeback properly happen, get a few rounds on the board, get your players warmed up for a map like Inferno, your map selection, and see if you're able to bounce back there. I mean, to be fair, I've seen some outrageous comebacks recently, so I certainly wouldn't put it past anyone right now, as I've seen some of the most chaotic Counter-Strike in these last week. Gonna be play through Ivy here. 3 players. Done with the bomb on his back though as well, so going to be quite a lot of stock put into this position, but equally, OneWin's got 3 players who can all react to this. Hobbits, USP not quite connecting. Plastic here in Hell finds one. Under pressure, one is all he will get. And Osic warmed upon on the bomb side. And I said, I think the pistol run needs to go the way of NIP. Be a perfect start for them, and it feels like it is just ruthless aggression. Inter's in a 1 versus 3 now. Sure, a bit of damage is being dealt to certain players. But just shots not connected. NIP here have found their 3rd. Yeah, Inter isn't even going to give it a go. Not even looking.
Terrorists win.
We're going to see any sort of force buy on the second round for a 1 win. I mean, you did have Inter save the armor. We can bring out for mass. But we are going to see the buy. A couple of MP9s alongside upgraded pistols. Another thing, I think when you look at the initial hit that NIP went towards Ivy, you had Latic towards Hell. You had Osic, I want to say, towards Camera. And Hobbit just holding Ivy. That was a 3-on-3 there. And when 3-on-3s should favour the CTs, you are expecting OneWin to do a little better, but just weren't good enough at trading. Players weren't playing off one another and just allowed the sort of hit squad of NIP to swarm. Good round here for the CTs, even more so as Inters finds aim. 4-on-2, weapons upgraded and retrieved. Enemy from range. Brown away. Does find Latic. Hobbit caught off on the edge of the smoke as well. OneWin feel like they're trying to push this round before there's even time to do so. Naomi finds Inters. And Osic, in a 1 versus 2 now, is being held by Kiara. And I said, and we've seen these two dig NIP out some really tough spots before, and they will do so again. Yeah, I actually think there's a pretty sloppy round, though, from OneWin. I mean, credit to Naomi and Kiara to win that 2 versus 4 there. But OneWin, there's a point where you look at that round and say, we've done the damage to win this one here. We've got 3 kills early. Let's slow things down. Let's be patient. We just rush things far too much. Allow NIP or Nip to pick you off 1 by 1. Make good work of it. Scoreline a little closer here, but OneWin. Go for another investment. Not going for the eco. There's a world where if we see OneWin win, if we see Nip win this one, I have to see OneWin take a bit of an eco, and then in the world you see a 6-10 or 10-6 scoreline. And from that 10-1 start from 1 win, certainly not a bad resurgence if it can be done. Obviously, these buys are just getting better for 1 win here. Had 3 upgraded pistols and 2 MP9s in the last. We've now got Latic armament on the D. We want to bring out the AWP. 2 MP9s and a couple of FAMASs as well. Latic not going to be the difference maker that he probably was just due to his buy. The rest of his team certainly could be. Cronus, timing's not great for him. Latic might need to be the difference maker as his team has a full forward around him. Just 1 kill that can be found. The MP9 will pop it, doubles up. Nothing more can be done, but Inter's in a real plausible 1 versus 2. We'll find the first. Bullets don't connect onto Vilga. Galil reigns supreme. And it comes down to the 1v1. The NIP do find their 5th. You can see 1 winner buying again. I mean, I suppose Latic did save money for the AWP. Hobbit with the 2 kills with the MP9. Had enough to bring out an M4, which is dropped over the Cronus. Intus has an M4 as well, but I mean, the buy's not great. It feels like 1 win just need to take a look in the mirror and just say, we're not playing good CS. Why are we trying to force something here? We'll take this space towards A main. Slow approach here from NIP. Smoke towards A main. Yara will be the player to sort of hold for any aggression, but the main attack is going to come towards B. Kiara found by Osik. Intus finds 1 towards the lower site. Hobbit nearby as well. Hobbit with a jumping MP9 and Zana in the 1 versus 4 turn 1v3. AWP Surgeon Latic is posted up. Latic will find on the jiggle and 1 win. Finally can find another round. And their first round on this CCT side. Yeah, I think the decision making with investments was pretty abysmal. I'm sure a lot of the rounds came close, but that's not really a good justification for saying it's a good buy. Anyone can bring any round close. But I think 1 win just needed to take the hit, go for the eco. But Latic did go for the save, so he was able to bring up the AWP, and that felt like the difference. 26-5 here this game. 1 win, just 2 rounds off. 1 victory here. Vilga looked like had some great space down there towards B. Intus could have been found, but Cronus as backup, ensuring no funny business early doors. Ozik. The bullets do connect into Naomi. More deagle shots coming his way. All down to 57 points of health. Molly down onto Kiara. Ozik will find. And it's just a 1 kill from the Desert Eagle. 1 win with map point on their map selection here. 1 round victory. Away from bringing us onto Inferno. Which equally, actually, 1 win have looked pretty good on in the last few months. Despite it being NIP's map pick. Been a pretty solid map for 1 win as well, but this is the weapons that NIP have to fight with. The 5-7s, Deagles, and an aggressive play from Naomi gets caught off. Dana trying to pick up the scraps towards Ivy. Does find a frag, does get a dink, but aim not quick enough to get a trade, and the Deagle giving up the location. Has to retrieve the AWP and hope that this gun will do it. And it's all on aim now. 1 versus 4. Missed shot with the AWP and get a chance to fire off another. 1 win. Victorious here on their map pick. I think after that first half, I think we were expecting they should be able to take things there. I mean, look, they found 10 rounds on the first half of things. I do think they probably overcomplicated a fair number of decisions, to be fair, that they made while being on their CT side. Just some strange buys, some questionable decisions. But they still managed to get over the line, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? This is an elimination match here in Group A, of course. We obviously already saw 1 win lose to Leo, so for them, this is such a crucial game to be able to bounce back, and they're so close to do so. But equally, like I said in the pre-game, NIP Impact, they have struggled to make it out of these close qualifiers beforehand. For them, this is just as important. They've now got to do the job from a bit of an uphill battle now, from the reverse sweep position. They've got to be able to take their map pick of Inferno before we move on to Overpass. But we'll see if Inferno does have that sort of idea about it, and NIP can bounce back there, or whether 1 win will be able to take things in a 12 fashion. We'll find out after a short 5-10 minute break. We'll catch you shortly. Map number 2 now. Underway after one win. Had a very positive win on map number 1. Nipping back. Did get a few rounds on the board. Got a couple very close at the start of the game as well that they couldn't quite convert, which felt like it could have been a big difference in that map. But now we're moving on to their map selection. Inferno has been their most played map over these last few months. But equally for one win, it's a very good looking map for themselves. So definitely can't be all too certain where this one is going to be heading. But pissed round, one win. Starting on the CT side, Hobbit's taking all this space over towards B. It is a 4-man A setup for 1 win. First kill found from AIM. Does get traded out. Naomi finds one back as well, and the play through B as Naomi finds Hobbit. That's the go call to instantly head back towards Banana. The CTs will get there in time though. Early gunfight to Naomi. This bomb's going to be difficult to cross. Dolly's in the hands. The bomb will get taken down by Naomi. Finds a double. It's all on Ozic. Brings it down to the 1 versus 1, and it's all on Naomi again. Does get found. Ozic with a 1 versus 3 there, I believe. 4K from him in total. Didn't have the greatest map number 1 for Ozic, but I mean, that's certainly quite the performance. And Naomi does so much work in that round to try to absolutely everything they can for it to be 1, but it's still not enough. We'll find one. Inter finds a second. Hobbit combines as well. It is just an eco. Not expecting a huge amount in this round for the T's.
Counter-terrorists win.
And one with simple second. Was what we were expecting anyway. Lots of usual thrown towards Banana from both teams. Oh, it finds one. Donna and Vilga get a killer piece. We'll keep this one up in the air, and I've had Plastic rotated as well. Protoss is already towards Banana, and NIP, they've done the damage, they've got the kills. Now I'm happy just to back away from this position. We'll look towards the A side of things. Ozic, solo defender. MP9 in hand. Potentially 4 players to push up onto this bomb site. Cronus and Lathig will rotate across, but the question is going to be how much can Cronus find beforehand? Yeah, the smoke with nothing exposed. Bullets aren't far off connecting. Still here towards the apartments. Tap of the bomb. Ozic finds one with a nade. Player spotted in pit. That'd be an aim. Bomb can get planted. No, it can't. As Lathig finds through the smoke, and it's all on aim. Lathig's double through the smoke there has completely flipped the script on this one. And with Ozic finding one with a nade, I mean, Ozic's done a good job just to keep himself alive. Time is ticking. AIM has to punch in the digits. Lathig will swing and will deny. AIM hoping that Lathig will think it's a bluff. Unfortunately for her, Lathig's not buying it. 3-0 start. I mean, a great start to the round from NIP. But you really are hoping they'll be able to find a little bit more. It was just, they were very patient in terms of pushing out onto that bomb site. Maybe a bit too disciplined invited their time towards along for a fair amount of time, and it just took a little too long for them to be able to make it onto the bomb site. We see a couple of kills from Latic found. Double nades up towards B through the smoke. Hobbit and Inters both backing away. Smoke dropped of their own. He's still pushing through this though. Tons of damage has been dealt. The onslaught continues, but it favors the CTs. It's all on field goal. 1 versus 5. We'll be able to back away down towards Banana, but there's no safe haven here. 45 points of health. Cronus, aggressive, has been spotted and will find. Weapons back in play now for Nip. Obviously, it was just a half on the last. Cronus dodging the flashbangs, looking back in time. The setup in brackets is good. 3 players here. Cronus aggressing, takes the fight. And blink and you miss it. This round is done. 3 towards brackets. You have Inters rotated in as well. Super quickly. Great decision there from the CTs and Naomi. Now 1 versus 5. The swings are eventually going to come. Latic from the opponents goes down. Cronus is in the back lines. Big round from Cronus. Big round from the A players. There's one man who can continue this streak. I think Nipper, regardless of how this game finishes, they're going to look back at these first 5 rounds and think, how have we not won one yet? The pistol round, we were advantaged. We lost sort of that 1 versus 3 to Ozic. And you look at that play for away, they had the man advantage. So unlucky that they haven't got any success yet on a map, but they have shown some decent things here. So it took them a little while to find their first round on train. Flashbangs out towards mid. Latic fully blinded. Is able to back away. Look at the damage that's been dealt to some of the T's. Latic's orb not connected. Being able to be retrieved from Kiara, but not able to fire off a bullet. And Latic does find 1 kill, does get overwhelmed, but is able to delay, is able to buy time for his team just to rotate in. Obviously, was just a pistol swarming towards A. But what we've seen from one win on this map, like I said, they have been decent at the map. They've got an 80% win rate in the last few months. Only losses that they've had were to Zero Tenacity and Eternal Fire here in the CCT. A couple of months apart. They're both very close losses. Other than that, it's all been sort of a sea of wins. Not necessarily as dominant as you'd like some of them to be. It certainly has some decent results here. In particular, when you do look at their stats, it's interesting. They actually really like the T side quite a lot. You know, to be the ones to set the tempo. Always has felt like for a fair amount of time now, Inferno's been one of those maps that maybe there's not as heavy a side leaning as they used to be. It feels relatively even now, to be honest. It just feels like it depends on how the team looks to play. Yudo is being thrown over here towards B. Seems like Nip are not going to respect the smoke that the CTs have thrown. Molotov gets dropped, but it's too late. Hobbit making presence from CT. Overall, the bullseye can be taken from the T's, and we're going to have 5-on-5 post plant. Vilga will go down just before the bomb gets planted. We've got AIM in this long wraparound. Do any of the CTs consider this? I think the first to fall if he doesn't. No one's looking. AIM could find so many here. Players on the bomb site are falling. The boost comes through. AIM will spot, will find one, but it's all on AIM. Our teammates have all fallen off the bomb. Gets the kill. That's unlucky that you think if AIM's a couple of seconds faster, the players on the bomb site probably don't go down just yet. There's probably a few more CTs to be found. And it was a really positive looking flank, but maybe with a little bit more util to delay, we could have seen a different look at that round. But now one win, been flawless from them. Regardless if a few rounds have got closer, they've yet to drop one. Again, speed up towards A for Nip. Ernest gets one, but Vilga's there for the trade, almost caught out by Latic Sorp. Through the flames, Osik will find two more T's aggressing up through long. Flashbang comes over. Latic towards the cold zero box, will miss the shot. Certainly not had the same level of dominance that Latic had on train. Osik, full control here of Pit. And enters nearby towards long, will spot one out. Takes down the second, but Osik finds the first. One win. 8-0 start. Already one win. Not far away from being able to take things in a 2-0 fashion. But tag down slightly. And this will find Yara, but it is just again this half by. It's been difficult because bomb plants have been few and far between as well for Nip. It's not even like they've been able to bring out consistent AKs and to make full use of this full loss bonus. And it's just an absolute bloodbath towards middle. But none of the CT's fault. Guns back in play. No weapons on it. And first tag pause. Be called from the T side. Just and how I want to go about taking a round like this. What change up do we need to see? We've seen some aggression towards B. Did a lot of aggression towards A, towards brackets, but I mean that certainly has not gone to plan in these last few rounds. But some of the B aggression early that we saw from Nip, we saw a few closer results, a few closer games. Closer rounds, I should say. Particularly early on this map, but it feels like we've just seen one win hit their stride the longer this game's gone on, and some of these close rounds that we were seeing at the start has slipped away slightly more. Not all too much aggression from one win towards Banana, despite throwing that deep smoke grenade. I think paranoid about NIP called this tactical pause. Why have they been taking all of this space? Elastic missed shot. Brackets is under the control now of Nip. And even in this portion of real estate, at times struggle to take it without losing too many players. From Boiler, from AIM, but Elastic's able to connect the flick shot. And with brackets taken, the CTs have all of the information. Cronus just peeks down middle, finds Vilga. And NIP, they backed away towards this B hit. They tried to sell presence towards A, but when we've seen how they played this game, they've always wanted to re-aggress, always wanted to see these fights. Nice opener from Naomi, but Hobbit gets the trade. Hobbit finds another, completes the triple on the B-bomb site. And although brackets was taken without a casualty at the start of the round, the re-aggression's really what kills any chance of that round. Latic finding the flick onto aim, the player who sort of should be there to stop the CTs, feeling all too comfortable about peeking down towards middle, but as soon as aim goes down, Cronus has no excuse as to why he shouldn't go for that peek. So spots out that brackets is clear alongside Latic, goes down middle, will find one, and from there, NIP are pushing 3 towards Banana with 3 defenders on the other side. 2 rounds remaining of the half. In brackets now, Latic drops the Molotov to delay any sort of push onto the A-bomb site. Again, we're seeing this re-aggression. WP will find Vilga. No instant trade coming through. Latic under pressure will back away. Look at the damage that's been dealt. Dana and Kiara, 44 points of health combined. Nade finds as well. Kiara softened up even more. Peak from Cronus in mid, gets a double. And a 1 win. They want to take things in 2. They want to take things dominantly here. After their loss to Leo. Seems like it's reinstalled of a new level of vigor into this side. Sort of a new spark that's turned into a full-on flame. As, like I said, this team, that the name value that they have, 1 win should be, at least in my opinion, performing at a far better level than they have been in recent months. Progression down mid from Hobbit. We'll find one. The trade does come through from Vilga. Naomi under pressure. Donna's not quick enough to be able to rotate in and support. Lack of ammo for Orsig, though, is his biggest issue, but Dana in a 1 versus 3. Spotted out and found by Latic. First half, a clean sweep. Not a single round dropped from 1 win. That's some really close rounds within the sort of first 5. And as soon as weapons are out, as soon as AKs were in the hands of some of the CTs, and that's when we saw different levels. Some really good setups towards brackets. Felt like it shut down anything that Nip Impact had to offer. And we saw what Latic could do on train when these players warmed up. Really is a scary sight to behold. But a 12-0 start, and a 12-0 finish with how this game's gone so far. Just the 1 round needed, and the pistol round could do it. And we're moving on to what has statistically been their strongest side in the last few months. And up here, it goes without saying, this pistol is a must-win. If there's any chance to stop themselves from getting eliminated here, and the Series 8 closed qualifiers, it's got to be now. And the call is good. It is just hit. Naomi towards B alone. UFP not quite connecting. Dink down to 1 point of health. Intis does find the opening onto Kiara. Kills traded back and forth, though. It is still this 3-on-3. Lowe's B Naomi finally finished off. Without a defuse get, time is not on the side of Nip here. Hobbit gets a double. All on Vilga. In fact, there is a kit on Vilga, actually, but Latic won't make it have any difference. 1 win Superb display here on Inferno. Good display on Train. Certainly not as dominant, but one win. Smooth sailings to keep themselves here in this event in the closed qualifier. We saw some really nice rounds. Good setups from one win in general. Like I said, this is a team that has had a very good Inferno. They have taken a couple of losses in the last few months, but those losses that they had super close games against some very decent teams, against teams that are far higher ranked than one win are right now. And I certainly think that they can view this game as a bit of a building platform now throughout the rest of the closed qualifiers. They're still going to have to face the loser of Leo versus Unity, which we will see later today. And they still got to be able to win that game just to give themselves a chance to make it into the Swiss stage. And for a team that sort of names alone, we've sort of seen in the Swiss stage beforehand without too many issues, it's been a bit underwhelming for me that we haven't even really got to see these guys at all apart from the closed qualifiers. So it's going to be important for them to sort of take that step up and that leap to make it slightly further, because like I said, I'm expecting a lot more from this team, and a result like that does prove it. But obviously, though, for NIP Impact, unfortunately, that is going to have to be them eliminated here at the Series 8 closed qualifiers. It doesn't get much easier today, as we are going to have another elimination game in about an hour and 40 minutes time. That is Troglodytes versus Y5 there. That's a Group B elimination game. We've obviously already seen Fireflux and Eternal Fire win their first games there against both of those teams respectively. And now another elimination game on the cards. I think the next one's going to be a super close affair, to be honest. I think looking at that one, sort of as soon as I saw the games that I was going to be covering today, I could not necessarily pick who I think is going to take that. A lot of talented players on either side, but like I said, that is all we've got for now for a little bit of time. You've got about an hour and a half break before we do jump into the second series of today. That's us taking a bit of a dive into Group B. Luckily, though, we can lift a few spirits after that series, as we've got some progression games. We've got some teams that will be advancing out of their groups. But for now, we're sadly going to have to stay with the elimination. We're sadly going to have to say goodbye to a few teams. But we'll be back in about an hour and 40 minutes time before we get underway with the second series of today. So you've got a nice bit of a break, so you can get yourself some breakfast, some food, whatever, and we'll see you back here shortly.